Hey everyone. Sorry, I'm trying to get that glare off of the screen, but a little glare. Okay, so I want to talk about 4-beat movement, but specifically the dangers of Caucasian women joining the 4-beat movement here in the States. And so let's just start off with just a bit background of the 4-beat movement. Yeah, well, if you look at me up, it's because you know what the 4-beat movement is. Started in South Korea. Well, and pretty much in America, we were already going that way. Here for Black women, it's called divestment. For all women, it was called going child-free. It was called no longer entering the marriage market, people deleting their dating apps and not dating anymore, removing themselves from the dating market. There's so celibacy. So we were already pretty much there. It was just a little fractured. But now the 4B movement's here. I actually really like it. I wasn't part of any of those movements just because I'm a Pisces. I've been intuitive my whole life. And I was flowing like a fish. So if I didn't like you, I would move, da-da-da-da-da. I wasn't having any crap. So I didn't really join it, even though I support it. And with this, I support it as well. But I want to say before we get into the dangers of Caucasian women joining the movement, and not to say they shouldn't join, but we just need to be aware of the dangers of them joining the movement, and how they need to move differently than other women because of that danger, okay? But first, let's talk about how the 4B movement, I love it because even though I'm not joining it, it gives an alternative. So anyone who doesn't want to go all of it, I know this guy said some crazy stuff to me and I'm just like blocked, whereas before I might have humored it. But this 4B movement gives you like, oh, I don't have to put up with this crap from you. The women are going to start building these like environment and places for us to just be together in a very cohesive way. So it gives people an alternative, even if they don't want to go for full beat. And I think that's a wonderful thing because a women alternative is the best alternative. You already read my last thing. You guys need to get political with it. We're going to get into the danger part and a little later. So the 4B movement's great. We're already there with our celibacy, divestment, child-free, no more marriage, no more men. We were already doing it, right? So this isn't like, what? Like, no, we're already doing it, but now this is just more cohesive, right? Lovely movement, even for those not in it, it gives an alternative to like an alternative woman version of things. So even that in itself is going to be beautiful. When you remove yourself from the system, you have to make a woman's version of everything. And our versions are just going to be prettier, nicer, more kind towards everyone in it, So, like, who wouldn't be on board with that, even if you're not fully going to do it? Like, fully support the women and everything they're going to do. But what we're getting into, and so I like to talk to things from a power standpoint. And I always like to say I'm a spiritual And I'm actually going to just lean into the word psychic. And, so my spiritual gifts and ability, and that gives you a tremendous amount of power. Once you have power, you can start recognizing the games other people are playing, whereas before, I just didn't see it. But when you have and hold power, and you can move and manipulate things, well, then you start thinking and seeing what other people who have that same power to move and manipulate things also do. And one of the things that I've noticed in this gathering of my spiritual gifts and ability, which, I can only ask Black women to do it as much as possible. Either do it or you don't, but it's a lot of power to put leaving on the table, is that I've noticed that who the peak predators are in this world. And I travel all over. I travel back and forth to Europe, Italy, Spain. I've been to all those places. But so just a little bit of background. So having these spiritual gifts and abilities, sometimes when I go into places and people are a bit more disrespectful, it's sort of like when you go to a prison ground and they say you should beat someone's ass the first day so that they know that you're not to mess with. So it establishes where you are in the hierarchy. Well, sometimes when I go into situations and people are being disrespectful, I establish myself spiritually, right, through my means to let them know, like, no, we're not going to do that, right? And if it's a little disrespect, it's just a little show of force. If it's big disrespect, it's a big show of whatever. And so it's funny because when these moments, I've always noticed there's one group that's peak predator, right? And that peak predator has always been American white men, Caucasian men. So when I go up to Europe and France and da-da-da-da-da, even here, there's all sorts of people. But I've noticed the one who always catches it, responds, faces me head on. Like, they don't know what's going on, but they can sense it, have the sharpest senses, are American white men. More than the French, more than the Italian, more than the Spanish, more than the English. American white men, I would say, are peak predators. And this is just not something you would know unless you're in a situation where you're in that mode where you're sitting there sizing each other up. It's a predator thing. They're always, you're always just, in certain situations called for, you're sizing each other up. And I've always noticed they were the ones to get it the fast. I noticed Indian men back here in this country, and women just can see spiritually, which is very interesting. So I don't have to flex anything to let them know that disrespectful. They're very respectful, but other groups don't. They can't see. They're not conscious enough for it. And I've always noticed that Caucasian men were the best ones. They were the quickest. They were the sharpest. They knew what was going on. They didn't know what was going on, but they could catch it, and they would face it head on. And it was just like sometimes when two dogs sniff around each other. It's basically that. And then you're like, okay, I'll back off. I mean, point taken. I don't have to keep going further. But it's just very clear to me that they are the peak predators on this planet, American specifically, Caucasian men. So going into that, I see these men sometimes in a way that Caucasian women don't even see them, okay? They don't even, because they don't show this side to them all the time. I mean, they know they can be violent, but they just don't know that they're dealing with peak predators who also have power, and they're not all nice with it, right? By any means necessary. So having this view of white men, knowing their peak, seeing that, experiencing that, and then I'm watching the 4B movement. And that's something I talk about the dangers, like, okay, well, you have to make sure you're doing what you need to. But then Caucasian women are getting in on this game. And I'm just like, okay, the way they move needs to be different than other women because their men are peak predators who like power and have already shown that they will use that power. They've done so politically. And the women, they have Caucasian women under wraps, like in all those red states. They have convinced all those women in those red states to come under their wing and to listen and do as they say. These men with peak power who already put all these laws in place to have more Caucasian babies, because all this stuff against all the DEI and that is just to maintain power, and they know the value of women. Okay? They really do. That's why they've kept as far as men go, they've kept a group of men in line, some of the best, and just keep them in line because they do know the power of women. So you have a group of people who are peak predators who know the power of women, who are actively in your face saying Roe versus Wade, and now we're going for the after morning pill, your face of using this power, right? And we We already know they can be violent. We've already seen that. They can be violent towards us. They can be violent towards their women. Okay? These men who are doing all these things right now to maintain power, and then all of a sudden the 4B movement hits the West. Now, when it's just black women and Hispanic women and Asian women talking about it, all right, they're keeping tabs. They might try to send an ops to infiltrate it, right? Because they'll do that stuff. But they're not as concerned. But what I have been seeing is more Caucasian women on this, on social media, running their mouths. Now, I understand their desire to join, but they're going to have to get a wake-up call about who their men are. And I hope this doesn't come as like, why is she talking? Like, I'm telling you, they are peak predators, and they have a lot of power, and they wield it. I look at Caucasian men as, you know, some are nice, some are not, but I look at them as a predator looks at another predator. You need to watch yourself, okay? They've already shown you what you're going to do. So have all these Caucasian women be so loud about the 4B movement. They cannot move the way other women move. The black community doesn't have a group of men who are going to organize, have power, and build clout. So much so that a third of the states got rid of Roe v. Some abortion. I hate saying that. Some abortion or whatever. You can't really say the word or something. So powerful that they were able to do that. They're a part of a group of men that not only are peak predators who want to keep power, who would use violence at any means necessary. They don't care that we think that they're wrong. They're doing what they're doing. They don't care about what we think. But you're going to flaunting in this type of person's face is not strategic. So I'm not telling Caucasian women they shouldn't join. I just need you all to be aware. It's one thing for me to say I'm part of the 4B movement as a black woman in America. Okay? Our men, they might not like it, but the organizational effect, they don't have that organization. The power to wield and the clout, they don't have that. Their men do and have shown that they'll use it any ways necessary. So I would suggest that if Caucasian women join this thing, they need to do so, A, cautiously, as if they have a whole bunch of predators looking at them, going, no, you won't. And have the means and abilities and willing to be violent enough to do it. Treat it accordingly. And so you can do that in any number of ways. Maybe Caucasian women need to be silent. Or maybe we say, hey, Caucasian women, if you join this movement, you need to battle your men because they go through you as the weakest links. So don't be getting up here talking about the 4B movement in their face, knowing they're willing to unalive anyone who gets in the way of their goals. They are really into that foot shoulder mindset. It's okay, he's giving it up for glory. Like, either do it, but do it prepared. Do it going, okay, they're already doing this. If we're going to be talking about this movement, we need to know they're going to try to shut it down. We need to know they're okay with these black, brown, Asian women doing it, but not with us. And move accordingly. Moving accordingly could be like, you go underground with it. Don't be so flaunting it in their face. Another way of being strategic with it is going, okay, we're going to do this, and if you try to take this away, if you try to force us, if you do this, we're going to do that and put action behind it. Sometimes when it comes to the black women empowerment, which all of this really comes from, we're the leaders. We take that. We know we're the leaders, okay? We know who and what we are. Sorry about the glare, guys, but just listen to the words, okay? Just listen to the words. It's all starting here. They want to catch on. They, you know, so in this space, we always say like black men and Caucasian women are like the same. They're used to being coddled by their counterparts. And because they've been so coddled, they don't always do the work they need to do that, you know, black women or Caucasian men. Okay? So, but if you guys are going to get on this 4B movement, you need to understand you're putting everyone at danger, but not putting the actions behind it to protect yourselves and others. So you need to say we're doing 4B, and if you try to stop us, we're going to get whatever. Maybe we get armed. We're going to get political. We're not going to vote for the people you're voting for. We're going to, you need to do something. But you can't just have this particular group of women with some of the most predatory, violent, but organized and power-wielding men who already has shown you this last year that they're going after DEI. They're suing schools for it, so they don't want any more black women in power because DEI and going after that because too many black women like Letitia James are holding them accountable. They're showing you who they are. Okay? Don't do it with them without being cautious of their threat to everybody and doing the work behind it. Doing the work behind it. Meaning you are going to do something. You're not going to just say all this stuff and get them mad and then watch them wipe everyone out. You're actually going to do something. And I made the comparison with Black men and Caucasian women, and sometimes look at them as the same coin, is because you guys talk a lot, but you don't always take that. You have to take the action. You're too dangerous. So if you're going to join this movement, either shut up and do it quietly, or go do it loudly, but tell how you're going to protect not only yourselves, but other women from your men who are going to use their power and influence, and there already are, to come after this movement. And so, like the Handmaid's Tale, whatever, they actually have the chutzpah to do it, because in the Western world, American men, American Caucasian men, they are like, when I go to Europe, and I fly there every month, going there next week, that's just my thing now. I fly to Europe every month. That's just what I do. That's my soft life. It's such night and day difference. They're like goblins and orcs here compared to like land of the elves and fairies. Like, it's just different. It's a different vibration. These guys are brutes. They're brutal. They're brutes, and they're brutal. Versus like when I date like European men, it's just so different. Like, it's just more sophistication, older cultures who've learned, you know, how many times did we go to war with England? How many times did we go to war with Germany? How many times did we go to war, the Spanish, like all of these wars, they're done. So they're an older culture over in Europe. They're more sophisticated. So it's just different. They're not here to do the stuff they've been doing the last 2,000 years. Whereas American men, they're still brutal. They're still like, you know, cavemen and Neanderthals compared to them. You know what I mean? So Caucasian women, either get your men in line, learn how to fight against your men, or join the 4B movement quietly, because we can't let your lack of action and your lack of understanding their violent nature wield all of that power, which is now, they were already going for more Caucasian babies, clearly, okay? They want less brown babies, all right, trying to halt immigration, more Caucasian babies, saying no to it. They're trying to go after birth control now at all levels. They're very clear about the power grab they're trying to do. And now you want to get in their face and do all this? Well, back it up, because they're already using their power and influence to not have, so you don't have that control. So shut up, go underground. You can still join, but either go underground or make sure you're doing the actual work to organize like your men know how to. And make sure you're protecting yourself politically and with the law, or just with your own groups if you're going to join it. So I'm just saying this from this end, predator to predator, like I see them, okay? They are who they are. And and if you don't know what you're dealing with, you think that they're doing something. They're actively doing something. Their one goal right now is more Caucasian babies. And they've shown you what they're willing to do. They haven't shown us at all. And FYI, I've been looking at the comments. When you look under a Black YouTube comments, when you're talking to the man, and when you're talking to, when I'm looking under Black comments of Black males and Black men are commenting about the 4B movement, they're mad. But they're saying something completely different than the Caucasian men. The Caucasian men are saying what none of us are surprised. None of us Black women are surprised they're saying. There might be a time where you don't get any choice at all and just going to have as many as I tell you to. Right? I mean, they're being very clear that they're like, we will go to the point where we just force you to do it, and it don't matter what you want. We will go back to the caveman days. Just take a look at those comments and look at Caucasian men who are responding versus Black men. And one is just mad, but the one is saying very clearly, well, we're just going to force you. Oh, and they go to this dystopian society, but it's just very telling that these peak predators are saying, if you do this, you won't even have a choice. And if that means you're sitting there strapped up and not having a choice, well, that's what it's going to be. So I'm just saying, like, don't be waving red in a bull's face, right? Yeah, Nia said they seem confused. You mean the Caucasian women seemed confused about it? If you want to explain a little bit more. So it's not, listen, I get it, but we have to move differently based upon our threat levels and our We just need to know our each of our men better. Now, through the divestment movement, Black women have opened up to the fact that most Black men really just don't like Black women. And I've gotten treated sort of better because I am lighter skinned, but still doesn't mean like I still didn't realize if there were Caucasian women around, they prefer, like, go, I don't care. FYI, it was like the most ghetto Caucasian women in the world. And they would just be like falling over. I'm like, well, I'm not ghetto, so have fun. Like, bye. I just went over here to the Hispanic and Caucasian men and Asian, like whatever, who liked me. I'm a fish, so we just swim to where we're appreciated. Fish don't stay in a dirty pond. We swim to a better one. So that's why I don't, whatever. So the divestment got Black women of the last 6 years to sort of start waking up to the reality of their men and counterparts. Well, I need Caucasian women to start waking up to the predatory, violent nature of their counterparts. And they have a lot of Caucasian women under control who will vote the way they do, who will say the things, like they have a lot of Caucasian women under their thumb already, which is part of that power they build. So I'm just saying, either go underground, Caucasian woman, with the 4B, or get your men who are already causing harm, trying to control you guys, because they understand the power of your move. So unlike other men who don't understand the power of the move, your men do. And you trying to take it away from them. This 4B, I'm telling you, they're not they're not taking it quietly before 4B, they're not taking it passively. They're like, no, have that baby, even if it's going to F you or it's going to unalive you or the child. They don't care. They don't. They said they want more Caucasian babies. They didn't say that out loud, but I mean, it's very clear. I mean, the racists did say it. If you look at white supremacists, they're like, we can't have the browning. We can't become minority. They've made it very, and they're using their power for that. So I'm just saying, don't be joining the movement without you taking active steps to combat your men who have already shown what they're going to do. Yeah, that's why I say they're Black men and Caucasian women are like, when it comes to us, like you need to, they do, and it's not going to work. It's just not. So, they really need to have to understand that when they join the conversation, we have to deal with their men who are right now, their one goal is to make sure they have as many Caucasian babies as possible. So don't be throwing this red flag in their face, whereas it's just not the same in other communities, right? Our men are peak predators with organizational skills, with power, with clout, okay? And the willingness to do it and already implement it. Other groups just don't have all those conversations, like all those things going on, but their counterparts do. So Caucasian women, do what you need to do, but you entering this fray, being loud about it, endangers other people if you don't do the actual work to combat everything they've already done with real action and real work. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope this doesn't come off too, I don't think what I'm talking about is crazy, like as far as like being able to understand it. I'm just saying, like, sometimes we don't understand people with power and how they move. And these guys, this particular group, has locked down a third of the states, especially in the South. They got to fly all the way to California now. And they just included Florida, which was 1 in 12 for being able to have reproductive rights, just so they can have more Caucasian babies. They did this in our face with half the nation looking over and appalled. And now you want to talk about we're just not going to date you, marry you, now you're going to say this in their face? I'm telling you, they're working on it. They're not idle. They know the power of your womb. They are working on it. So if you're going to do it right, protect yourself, protect others, and do the action. You're not going to do the action, shut up and just let the Black women do it. We're not the threat to them. Black women going 4B is not the threat to the Caucasian power institution. Okay? All right? It's just not. Asian and Hispanic women doing it, that's not a threat to them. You doing it is, and you know how they act. So that's all I want to say. Just get that out the way. I love this movement. Even if you're not in it, the presence of it is still supportive. And it's a beautiful thing, right? So I hope you guys just really take this in light. It's meant. Leave your comments below. But it's a very powerful group they're pissing off. So if you're going to piss them off right? Like, make sure you're covering your bases, or just be quiet about it. We're not the threat. BWE can talk about this all day. We're not the threat. They're just not going to come after us like that. But you women, they've already shown that they are, and they're going to continue. So, now my way, if I were a Caucasian woman, was to get more organized and really start lobbying and putting back, women rights candidates, maternity leave candidates, subsidized healthcare candidates, age of consent candidates. I would use political power to be putting forward a women's party. The women's party would have all these things that are specifically for biologically born females, not trans, not part of the movement, because they're still honest. And I'm just going to say, I've been intuitive my whole life. I'm going to tell you, I haven't met one trans person, like a trans woman, who just smelt. There's a smelling from your energy. The energy was mean, competitive, and they don't really like women. So I don't know why y'all keep trying to protect them people who don't like you. But like, I've never met one who actually was nice and actually liked women. It was always some underlying hate. I sense this stuff. I'm not. So don't do that. But you need to be putting together these political parties and combat them politically. But I don't, in a way that would actually work. But do something, not just be a sitting duck, running your mouth while they're making moves. Don't do that. Either shut up or make your own moves. Easy enough to make moves. You just have to actually work. Can't ask Black women to work. We're tired. Okay? We're tired. So you have to do it or be quiet. And that's my stance on it. I hope you understand it. You don't have to agree, and that's okay if you disagree. But that's where I'm coming from. Don't be riling these men up if you're not ready to deal with like the extra of riling your peak predator of this country up. Okay? So that's it. Love the movement. I'm going to support it all day. The moon is going to cover the sun. It's a big reset. Very telling. I haven't been as drowsy, but from what I'm gathering, there's going to be some upgrades, some spiritual upgrades. Any of you guys with spiritual gifts, you're going to notice an uptick, which will be nice. This is not idle. Divine feminine is here, and this is just taking us to the next level where we really come into our power about what that means. And FYI, I now understand, I see mom ducks with their 8 ducklings, and I see mama bears with their bears. So in the wild, in the animal kingdom, who are our teachers, okay? They are our teachers. You see this thing where, like, the mom, the one thing she does is just make sure she chooses the best, most strongest mate, because that's going to give her the best, strongest kids, which will make it easier for her to do her job, right? And once she does that, you just see the mom with her 8 ducklings by herself. But is she worried? No. She's got it. You see the mama bear with her 2 cubs. Is she worried? No. She's got it. Right? Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. The world has equipped us to be able to sort of need men for procreation, but that's it. Be able to survive and thrive and raise our kids without them. If we look at different animal kingdoms to like we can do it, and we can do it with calm and with aplomb. I'm not saying that's necessarily the goal, but it's just, this 4B movement made me realize that, nature does have a way for women to raise their offspring without needing men and still do a wonderful job, but still use the men for getting the strongest, most powerful genetic that will help her kids to have the instincts to survive. So she doesn't have to do everything. The genetic instincts will do it. So that's it. That was just something I think about the 4B that's bringing to clarity. Support all the way. I just had to tell you the predator view of things, and they're looking, and they're not. They can be violent, and they've already shown they'll use their political power and the women they have under their thumb. Keep that in mind. Don't be loud, Caucasian women, or prepare yourself. Bye.